a lot of times we don't think about taking that step ahead. And I joke with Amelia constantly. I say, if you're not 2 steps ahead, you're behind. And that's because that's been imprinted on my forehead since I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 7 years old. If you are not 2 steps ahead, you are behind. And while that goes against the whole concept, you must live in the present, and our goal is to live in the present all the time, as people with diabetes, it's not the easiest thing to do because you have to be thinking a little bit into the future. Welcome to the Your Diabetes Insider podcast, where we take all of the mysteries of blood sugar control, focusing on nutrition, exercise, and any of the other 40 plus factors that may impact your blood sugar. If you don't know me, my name is Ben Zeal. I'm a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, strength and conditioning coach, and I've lived myself with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years. And I am here to share everything that I have learned in both my personal and professional experience so you can live that incredible diabetes life. So get ready and let's dive right into today's episode. I have a feeling you are gonna love this episode, and it's something that I feel like is one of those topics that's just swept under the rug a little bit, but it needs to be addressed more often because it's one of those overarching themes of diabetes, but the providers don't talk about it, endos don't talk about it, and if they do, it's kind of this very surface level type of thing that needs to really get a deep dive. So let's do it now. What would that thing be? But it would be the art of preparedness within diabetes. And to further illustrate it, this would be the best example I can give you. So not too long ago, went and played pickleball for the first time in, 16 years with a few of my friends. They just built a court in the area, which is super cool. With that, we had played a couple games. We were playing doubles. We switched partners. We took a water break. And my friend asked me, he said, "You're obviously running around with us. We're playing. It's hot outside. You're doing great, but you're monitoring your number, your blood sugar, and you're making it seem like it's not that hard. But I know that there has to be some sort of effort that goes into this. How is that possible? How are you able to do the way it needs to be done?" And it really just led me to think about what needs to happen more within the land of diabetes, because a lot of times we don't think about taking that step ahead. And I joke with Amelia constantly. I say, if you're not 2 steps ahead, you're behind. And that's because that's been imprinted on my forehead since I was diagnosed with diabetes when I was 7 years old. If you are not 2 steps ahead, you are behind. And while that goes against the whole concept, you must live in the present, and our goal is to live in the present all the time, as people with diabetes, it's not the easiest thing to do because you have to be thinking a little bit into the future. So, for example, with that day of pickleball, so I had already trained. I had done my normal workout. So now I'm balancing that with the fact that I have to eat something, and then balancing that food with, I'm going to be playing pickleball and running around for 2 hours. So how am I going to finesse this situation so my blood sugar doesn't A, go super high, or B, absolutely plummet? And it feels like a tightrope act. Diabetes many times can feel like a tightrope act if you are not prepping. Even if you are prepping, it can feel like a tightrope act. But when you're not prepped, it feels like you're about to fall off, like that somebody put a bunch of whatever makes it slippery. They put a bunch of banana peels on your tightrope and you're 80 feet in the air and you're going to fall. And with this situation, right? So I had trained, I had to think about, okay, am I going to adjust my food? Am I going to adjust my dosing for my food that I'm having after training because I just trained, but also because I have pickleball coming up? Is this something where I need to consider reducing my insulin dose because I'm about to be more active? Or do I need to consider consuming more carbs because I need to have more gas in my fuel tank because I'm about to be running around for another hour, 2 hours that my body is not typically used to or thinking about? Do I need to also consider the fact that it's 85 degrees outside and my blood sugar as a result may end up becoming more insulin sensitive from just the heat, plus the activity, plus the fact that there's insulin in my system? You just see how this cascade effect happens, and suddenly you look up and you're thinking, holy cow, I just made 17 decisions just based on me playing pickleball in 2.5 hours. And it's exhausting. That's why so many people with diabetes, and you may be one of these people, think, holy cow, this is just draining all the time because I'm constantly making some sort of decision. And the thing is, yes, it absolutely is. And it can be super exhausting. And so I want to validate your thoughts on that. But I also want to really bring to your attention is it can seem like a lot, but once you really start putting it into play, it's not as hard as it may seem. It just may require a little bit of extra thinking here and there, 15 seconds here, 20 seconds there, 30 seconds there, and you're fine. So think about that situation that I just described, right, with the pickleball. So ultimately, I trained. Cool. I'm going to eat the way that I typically do after training, which I know for me, part of my dose is going to come down because I'm already super insulin sensitive from the type of training. I train legs. I train heavy legs. It was a Saturday. That's just how I do. And I knew, okay, I'm going to be taking a little bit less because of that. I need to be thinking, okay, well, I'm about to be playing pickleball, more of a cardio type activity. We can get into the semantics of that later, but it's more of a cardio-like activity. So as a result of that, I'm going to want as little insulin on board ahead of time because the moment I start moving, that insulin on board is going to potentiate. It's going to get stronger. And now my number's going to plummet if I'm not careful. So in a case like that, I've already reduced the dose from the exercise. I'm now thinking about reducing the dose for pickleball, and that's it. I just take a lesser dose. Of course, you have to decide how much that is, etc. But let's say you take a percentage off the top for what you normally do, or what I normally do in that case, and then I take a percentage because of pickleball, and that's it. And then it becomes, okay, I know this is the timeline, this is what I'm going to bring with, and this is where the preparation comes in play, right? Okay, I'm going to be playing at 3 o'clock. What do I need to make sure I bring with me in order to make sure I can continue the whole time and not have a low blood sugar? So, all right, I've got my low snacks. I've got plenty of water. I've got, in this case, I had 2 different types of low snacks. I had something I could drink because obviously the hydration is going to be an added bonus. And then something else, my candy corn, because candy corn is gross and that's why I like it as my low snack, so I won't overeat it. But think that like that, then it just becomes, okay, we go walk over to the court. Let me take a peep at my number on the way there. All right, I'm trending slightly down. Let me go pop a few of the candy corns to make sure that my number doesn't continue to drop. Because the last thing I want is I show up to the court, I'm 93 with a unit active, and now I'm going to plummet. So in that case, it becomes, okay, making these little micro decisions, which can be exhausting, but they start to just become boom, 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 boom. Not a big deal because you're just making them so frequently. Same thing for prep for other areas of diabetes, right? That was prep for activity. Then let's say you're prepping to travel, which I will do a whole thing on travel in and of itself because it deserves its own standalone little episode here. But for travel, right? You're making sure you have enough stuff on you in case something hits the fan. You're on an insulin pump. You're making sure you've got backup insulin. You're making sure you've got backup supplies. You've got backup insulin pens in case your pump decides to bite it. You've got your snacks with you underneath your seat to make sure if you have a low blood sugar, you're not depending on the flight attendant to get you some juice or some soda. Like, it's just these little extra things that once you start putting them into action on a regular basis, it's not that bad. But until you start that, the prep can be exhausting. Because think about it like this. Think about, and I talk with people constantly living with diabetes and living without as well. But people inherently don't want to prep because it is extra work. There's enough work already. You go to work, you've got your family, you've got the things you enjoy, you've got to cook, you've got to do all these things. Plus you have your diabetes on top of that. So the last thing you want to do is more work. But think about it like this. Instead of thinking, oh, well, I can do this. It'll be really good for me. It'll be fine. There's research that shows, and it's been shown again and again and again, that people would rather avoid than they would go towards something exciting to them. So it's kind of, it would be the example of you would be more inclined to act if I am going to take away $20 than give you $10. Or even give you $20. You will have a more intense response. If I give you $20, you'll be like, yeah, this is great. But if I take $20, you're even more infuriated. So I would apply that principle to blood sugars in this case, right? If you're not motivated to prepare at all, and you're like, hey, I gotta run, I gotta do these things, spend the extra 15 seconds. Grab the low snacks, grab the backup insulin. Because what would you rather be in a situation of? Oh, everything went great. Of course, then you're fine. Doesn't matter. But God forbid something doesn't go well. You rip your site out. You have an insulin pump and you rip your site out. Your tubing catches on a doorknob, or your Omnipod decides to sweat and fall off because it got hot outside. And now you have no backup insulin and you're 45 minutes from home and you still have to go to a work thing. You're going to be thanking your lucky stars that you brought your backup insulin pen versus, holy cow, I know I'm tasked with this decision of I have work responsibilities, but I also have no insulin in my body. So I either have to choose to go home or I have to choose to do these work things while my blood sugar skyrockets to 375 and I feel like somebody hit me with a 2x4 in the face. That is the power of that little extra preparation. You don't have to make it difficult, right? It doesn't have to be something that's a challenge for you. It doesn't have to be this whole grandiose process every single day. You may see in a lot of the self-development spaces that there's a lot of people talking about morning routines or how they get ready every day, and they'll do their journaling and they'll do their meditation and they'll do an ice plunge and they'll do all sorts of different things, which for different people have their own use. They have their own utility. I have certain things I like to do to get my day going and get me in the right headspace as well. But at the same time, these things can get really taxing, and sometimes there's people that are doing 2 or 3 hours worth of stuff just to get ready for the day, when the reality is they don't need that much. Don't make it complicated like that. Keep it pretty simple. It can be something as simple as having a mental checklist in your head when you leave the house. Whether you're going to the grocery store, you're going to a baseball game, or you're going to pick up your kid from soccer practice, you can make sure you go through and say, okay, if you have a continuous glucose monitor, do you have it with you? Or is it on your body? Or do I have some way to check my blood sugar? Blood sugar checking. Oh, I've got something. Check. Backup insulin. Check. In the event you have it, or do you even have your insulin at all? Right? You have your pump? Check. Do you have your low snack? Check. You carry a glucagon. Do you have your glucagon? Check. Okay, cool. That's your mental checklist. It took you 10 seconds. Oh, I don't have my low snack. Oh, darn. Let me go back and go grab me a juice box, and then I can get on my way. That little teeny amount of extra effort makes a massive difference. Massive, massive difference. You've been there, but there's been times where your blood sugar is low, you're on the middle of the highway, you have 7 miles till the next exit, you're 55 and you're out of snacks in the car. It's pretty scary. It's pretty scary because that can be a potentially life-threatening situation if you let it go long enough, especially if you're the one operating the car. Especially then tack on if there are people in the car with you. That's terrifying. You're obviously doing the best you can to get there, but it's a lot easier when you prepare in advance and have something with you. Now, if you eat through it, separate conversation. But if you tell me, hey, I've got my low snack, all right, I'm fine. I had my Swedish fish. I just took 6. I'm going to be good. That feels a heck of a lot better to have that security blanket and that safety net as opposed to the alternative. That's what I really want to emphasize here is prep. Yes, you're constantly thinking ahead. It's diabetes life. I don't have kids, but I'm sure it's similar when you have kids, right? Maybe it's good prep. I don't know. But what I can say is from a diabetes perspective, don't make it complicated. Don't make it ridiculous. Just think about, all right, I did that little extra preparation. I've got what I need. I'm good to go. And that's it. Because diabetes, the majority of the time, is literally just prep work. Think about, going out to dinner, right? Hey, I'm going out to this new place. You're going out. Maybe it's a work function. Maybe you're going with a group of friends. Maybe you're going on a first date, right? But think about how you would prep for that. Okay, do you know where you're going? Yes, cool. Do you want to scout the menu? Do you feel confident enough in your dosing for restaurant meals and unknown food that you can nail this without having to check the menu in advance? If you don't, my team and I are here to help you if that's some support you'd look for. But beyond that, if you aren't, go peep the menu. Get an idea of what looks appetizing, what you think is going to be good. If it's a chain, there's going to be nutrition information because there has to be. By law, it's mandated. If there's over locations to have nutritional information available for people to look at. So take a look there. Okay, I know where we're going. I've peeped the menu. I have an idea of what I want. And then from there, right, you order, you follow your game plan, you're good to go. Should you stray off the game plan? Or maybe we got some apps for the table I wasn't expecting, took my dose, took it on time, feel good about it. Hey, do I have to consider that fat and protein may get me later? Absolutely. But now I just did that extra prep behind the scenes. It's the stuff that people don't see, but it's the stuff that makes such a massive difference. And that's the difference of having your blood sugar potentially roller coaster or having your blood sugar be totally chill. You feel great and you can enjoy that experience to the fullest. Because that little extra prep, I use this analogy at times, but people say, well, if I'm at the table, for example, and I'm logging my food into my fitness pad, into a food diary, and I'm figuring out my dose, isn't that rude or whatever? And I say, no, it's helping you feel like you're 100% of yourself, because then you are providing everybody with the 100% of you experience. So for me, because I feel good, because my blood sugars are in range, whether it's pickleball, whether it's eating at a restaurant, I am able to provide the 10 out of 10 Ben experience. And if I don't prepare, I am being selfish because I am cheating the other people around me out of 10 out of 10 experience. They're going to get the 6 out of 10 Ben experience. My blood sugar, God forbid, goes super high or super low. Maybe they're getting the 2 out of 10 Ben experience. And so then not only am I robbing them of the awesome experience and the fullest version of me and my excitement for life and for whatever we're doing, and I also feel like crap on top of that. And then that becomes a selfish thing. So by not taking care of yourself, you are then robbing other people of the full experience of you. And all it takes is just a little bit of prep. That's all it is. And that's the thing. So when my friend mentioned with pickleball, hey, you make it seem effortless. The goal is to make it seem effortless to other people because you're on top of it and you're staying on top of it. You're staying in control of it. You are not letting diabetes run the show. You are the one in the show. You are the one calling the shots. and you are the one who's dictating how the orchestra plays, how the numbers look, how everything proceeds to go, and life is fantastic. Don't make it too complicated, but take that extra 10, 20, 30 seconds. Maybe it's 60 or 90 seconds if you're at a restaurant, right? Maybe it's a few extra minutes if you're packing for a trip, but take that little extra prep, little teeny time to prep a little bit extra. Make sure you're on point, you stay structured, and you're gold from there. That's it. That's all I got on this one. Just take that time and prep. The doctors don't tend to talk about it that much. In my experience with other diabetes educators growing up or going to see endocrinologists, first of all, they often don't have time to even go into something like this. But second, when they do have time, it might be one of those, hey, make sure you dose on time, or hey, maybe bring some glucagon and some low snacks with you wherever you go. But it never encompasses all aspects. It's not like, oh, make sure you're a little bit ahead of the game for whatever might be thrown at you in life. Once you are at a point where you are prepped for anything that diabetes could possibly throw at you, that is when the ultimate relaxation comes into play. That's when the ultimate just ability to breathe gets so much easier because you're not worried because, hey, low blood sugar, got it. High blood sugar, got it. Strange food that I'm not sure about, got it. Oh, my pump site fell out, got it. Everything is set. That is the ultimate freedom. So that's what I got. Let me know. Shoot me a message. Let me know what resonated with you on this. And from this, what are you going to consider prepping in the future for your diabetes to make sure that you are unrestricted, you are living life, and you are doing the things that need to be done. So you are providing the world with a 10 out of 10 experience of you. I'll catch you soon. I've always got your back, and happy blood sugars manifesting for all of us.